My entitled brother screamed that I must sign over my grandfather's antique car to him because you're a woman, and women don't need classic cars. When I refused, he tried to sell it behind my back. His face turned white when the auctioneer stated, "Unfortunately, you can't sell a car that's already been donated to a women's racing club." I never thought a family heirloom could ignite such a storm between my brother and me. But here we are. Our grandfather, a man of simple pleasures and deep passions, had a 1965 Ford Mustang. That car wasn't just metal and rubber, it was a symbol of his youth, his adventures, and, in many ways, our family's history. Every Sunday, rain or shine, he'd be out in the driveway, meticulously washing and waxing it, humming tunes from the 60s. As kids, my brother David and I would sit on the porch, watching him, sometimes helping, often just listening to his stories about the good old days. David, older by 3 years, always had a closer bond with Grandpa. They'd spend hours under the hood, tinkering with the engine, discussing horsepower, torque, and things that, at the time, sounded like a foreign language to me. I was more into books and art, but that didn't mean I didn't appreciate the Mustang. To me, it was a piece of art, a testament to design and history. When Grandpa passed away, it was a blow to all of us. After the funeral, we gathered at his house for the reading of the will. The atmosphere was heavy, the air thick with anticipation and grief. The lawyer, a stern man with glasses perched on the edge of his nose, read out the allocations. The house went to our parents, some savings were divided among relatives, and then came the part about the Mustang. To my granddaughter, Laura, the lawyer read, "I leave my 1965 Ford Mustang. May it remind her of our cherished moments and inspire her to create her own adventures." The room fell silent. I was stunned. I glanced at David, expecting a smile or a nod, but his face was a mask of disbelief and, was that anger? After the formalities, as people started to disperse, David pulled me aside into the kitchen. "This has to be a mistake," he said, his voice low but intense. Grandpa knew how much that car meant to me. I didn't expect this either, I admitted. But it's what he wanted. David's eyes narrowed. "You're not even into cars, Laura. What are you going to do with it? Let it gather dust." "Maybe I'll learn," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Maybe it's time I connect with that part of our family history." He scoffed. "You're a woman. Women don't need classic cars. Especially not ones they don't understand." His words stung. "David, it's not about need. It's about honoring Grandpa's wishes." He leaned in closer, his face inches from mine. "You should sign it over to me. It's the right thing to do." I took a step back. I won't go against Grandpa's wishes. The days that followed were tense. David avoided me, and when we did cross paths, he'd barely acknowledge my presence. I tried reaching out, hoping to find a middle ground, but he was resolute in his silence. One evening, about a week later, I decided to visit Grandpa's house to check on the Mustang. I hadn't seen it since the funeral, and I felt a pull to be near it. As I approached the garage, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. My heart raced. I pushed it open and was met with an empty space where the Mustang once stood. Panic set in. I called David immediately. "Where's the car?" I demanded. There was a pause. "I have it," he admitted unapologetically. "David, that's theft." "It's not theft if it rightfully belongs to me," he retorted. "I'm taking care of it like it should be." I was at a loss. I didn't want to involve the authorities, but David had crossed a line. I decided to give it a day, hoping he'd come to his senses. The next morning, I received a call from an old friend who worked at a local auction house. "Laura, I thought you'd want to know," she began hesitantly. "Your Mustang is listed in our upcoming auction." My grip tightened on the phone. "That's impossible." "Are you sure it's the same car?" "Positive. The VIN matches. The auction is set for tomorrow evening." I felt a mix of rage and betrayal. David was not only keeping the car from me, but was now attempting to sell it without my consent. I spent the day gathering all the necessary documents proving my ownership. That evening, I confronted David at his apartment. "You're selling the Mustang?" I asked, holding up the auction listing. He didn't deny it. "I need the money, and you don't even care about the car." "That's not your decision to make," I shot back. "Grandpa entrusted it to me." He shrugged. "Consider it a business transaction." I left, seething but determined. I had a plan. The next day, I arrived at the auction house early, documents in hand. I explained the situation to the auctioneer, a kind man named Mr. Thompson. He assured me that without clear ownership, the car couldn't be sold. As the auction began and the Mustang's lot was introduced, Mr. Thompson addressed the crowd. "Unfortunately, the 1965 Ford Mustang has been withdrawn from today's auction due to ownership disputes." David, who was in the audience, turned pale. I approached him. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You're right," I replied calmly. "But next time, maybe we can handle it like family." The battle over the Mustang had strained our relationship to its limits. Trust was shattered, and the bond we'd once shared seemed irreparable. I hoped that time would heal these wounds, but only time would tell. David didn't talk to me after the auction mess. I figured he'd stew in silence, maybe cool off, maybe even apologize. That was wishful thinking. A week passed, then two. I kept the Mustang locked tight in my garage, even installed cameras just in case. I didn't want to believe my own brother could stoop any lower, but I'd already been proven wrong once. Still, deep down, I hoped that was it. That he'd be angry, sure, but done. Over. No more drama. Wrong again. It was a Thursday afternoon when my neighbor, Miss Grady, called. She's in her 60s, watches the street like a hawk, sweet lady, always hands out cookies during the holidays. Laura, honey, she said, I think you should come home. There's a man out here with a tow truck. He's trying to open your garage. I left work without even shutting down my computer. When I pulled up, I saw him. Some greasy-looking guy with a clipboard and a crowbar, standing next to a tow truck. My garage door had fresh scratches on it. I jumped out of my car and yelled, "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" He looked surprised but not guilty. You Laura? I got a work order to pick up a 65 Mustang for repossession. Says here it's in the name of David L. Stop right there, I snapped, pulling out my phone. This car's not his. He forged something, didn't he? The guy shrugged. Lady, I just do what the papers say. Don't shoot the messenger. I am the legal owner. I have the title in my name. This is theft. He got back in the truck real quick after that. But the damage to my garage door was done, and my blood was boiling. Later that night, I called David. He didn't answer. So I texted, "What the hell is wrong with you? You tried to steal it again." He replied with one word, "Prove it." The next day, I went to the DMV to double-check everything. That's when I found out he'd filed a false report claiming I coerced Grandpa into changing the will. He was trying to invalidate my inheritance. He was dragging Grandpa's name through the mud. I couldn't believe it. It felt like I was being punched in the gut again and again. That night, I sat in the garage, staring at the Mustang, thinking about Grandpa. This car wasn't just a car. It was everything. Memories, values, respect. David was trying to rip that all away just because he couldn't stand that it wasn't his. Then I got an idea. A crazy one, but it felt right. I reached out to a local women's classic car club I'd recently been talking with, some badass ladies who knew engines better than half the mechanics in the state. I told them the story. Every wild, humiliating, unbelievable detail. They listened. Then they offered something I didn't expect. Donate the car to us, the president said. Let us preserve it in your grandfather's name. We'll keep it running, showing it off, teaching young girls how to work on engines with it. I hesitated. It would mean letting go of the car. But it would also mean keeping David from ever touching it again. And it would mean Grandpa's legacy would live on, not just for me, but for others. I made the donation official the following week. I didn't tell David. I didn't say a word. I waited, and then it happened. Another auction. This time, not at the shady local place, but at a well-known regional collector's event. I saw the Mustang's photo online, listed again. David had somehow faked the paperwork one more time. I let it play out. The night of the auction, I showed up early. I brought the club president and our lawyer. They were ready. David was there too, smug, all dressed up, standing next to the car like he owned it. As the auctioneer stepped up to announce the car, he said, "This 1965 Ford Mustang is a unique piece. However, unfortunately, you can't sell a car that's already been donated to a women's racing club. This auction lot is officially withdrawn." David's face drained. He looked around like he didn't understand the words. I stepped into view. I didn't say a thing, just looked him straight in the eye. He stormed out before anyone else could say anything, but I knew this wasn't the end. David wasn't finished. And neither was I. 3 days after the auction, I thought maybe, just maybe, that was the last of it. I was wrong. I started getting phone calls. First, a collector from Cincinnati, then a guy from Louisville, then someone from Indianapolis. All of them said the same thing. They saw my Mustang listed online, and they wanted to confirm its condition before they placed a bid. That's when I found the listing. There it was, on a niche classic car site, with high-resolution photos David must have taken before the first auction. The price was obscene, way higher than market value, and it listed him as the point of contact. The kicker? The car was described as family-owned, clean title, no disputes. He was trying to sell it online, privately, hoping no one would check anything. I called the police. Again. And once again, the answer I got made my stomach churn. It's a civil matter. You'll need to go through a lawyer. So I did. The Women's Racing Club lawyer and I filed a cease and desist and hit the listing site with a takedown notice. But this time, I wanted more than just to clean up another mess. I wanted to cut him off at the knees. I started digging. If David was bold enough to sell the Mustang after 2 failed attempts, there had to be more. And there was. I went back through old paperwork from Grandpa's estate, stuff I hadn't paid attention to during the grieving process. And that's when I found something strange. A loan agreement, signed by Grandpa and witnessed by someone I didn't recognize, stating that David had borrowed $12,000 from him 5 years ago. The terms were clear: full repayment in 2 years, or the debt would be turned over to the estate to be deducted from any inheritance. David never paid it back. And I realized why he wanted the Mustang so badly. It was never just about sentiment or pride. He needed the money. He was broke. I contacted the estate's lawyer. After a bit of back and forth, he confirmed it. David's share of the inheritance had already been reduced because of the unpaid loan. He had nothing coming. And now that he'd tried to defraud the estate multiple times, the lawyer was ready to push for legal action. Still, I wasn't prepared for what came next. I came home one evening to find my front door wide open. I ran inside, heart pounding. The TV was on the floor. My drawers had been rifled through. My garage key was gone. I sprinted out back. The garage was untouched. Cameras still rolling. Mustang still there. I checked the footage. There he was. David, looking dead in the camera lens before turning away. I gave the footage to the police. This time, they didn't say civil matter. This time, it was breaking and entering. But even that didn't stop him. Days later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from his lawyer. He was suing me for undue influence over Grandpa in the final months, claiming I manipulated an elderly man into changing his will. He wanted the car. He wanted damages. He wanted everything. The club lawyer laughed when she read it. This won't hold water. But it's going to be messy. So yeah, now we were in court. But while prepping for the case, the lawyer found something else. Something huge. She pulled a call log from Grandpa's old phone. A number that kept showing up dozens of times in the weeks leading up to his passing. It belonged to a guy named Craig. The same witness from David's loan agreement. Turns out Craig wasn't just a friend. He was David's old drinking buddy. A guy with 2 fraud charges in his past and a reputation for signing his name for cash. And now he was part of the will dispute. We subpoenaed him. Got him on the record. The story cracked wide open. Craig admitted David had asked him to help forge a few things related to Grandpa's estate. Signed a fake witness statement. Even claimed David was trying to fix the will because he said I didn't deserve Jack. It was all falling apart. The evidence was stacking up. Fraud, theft, perjury. And yet, I had the sickest feeling it wasn't over. Because people like David don't stop when they lose. They stop when there's nothing left to burn. The courtroom was packed. Not like some high-profile celebrity trial, but still, dozens of people were there. Mostly strangers, but a few familiar faces stood out. Members of the Women's Racing Club sat in the back row, arms crossed, quietly supportive. Ms. Grady came too, the neighbor who caught David with the tow truck. Even my old high school English teacher was there, whispering to someone, wide-eyed. Small town. Word got around. David sat 2 rows across from me. I hadn't spoken to him in months. His jaw was tight, his eyes locked straight ahead. His lawyer looked tired, like she already knew how this was going to end. It wasn't just a hearing anymore. It was war. The judge entered. We stood. Saturday. And then everything spilled out. My lawyer presented everything: the will, the title, the donation paperwork, the forged documents, Craig's testimony, the break-in footage. She did it without raising her voice, just a steady stream of facts, every sentence tightening the noose around David's case. And then, Craig took the stand. He looked awful. Sweaty, fidgety, ashamed. I could tell he didn't want to be there, but he had no choice. I didn't know it'd go this far, he said. David said it was just to fix what was already his. He said his sister manipulated the old man. Told me I'd get $500 to sign some paper. Did you witness the will change? The judge asked. Craig shook his head. No. I never even met her grandpa. There it was. A lie unraveled in front of the entire room. David's lawyer asked to approach the bench. They had a quick, quiet conference. I couldn't hear it, but when they finished, she sat down and didn't say another word. Then it was David's turn. He stood up, slowly. The courtroom was dead silent. I didn't think it was fair, he said. I grew up loving that car. Working on it with Grandpa. Everyone knew it was mine, even before he died. The judge didn't say anything. Let him talk. But when he gave it to her, I lost it. I thought she wouldn't know what to do with it. That she'd just let it rot. I didn't think it was about me being a man or her being a woman. I just thought she didn't care. He turned toward me, eyes glassy. But you did. You took care of it. You joined that club. You did everything I said you couldn't. It wasn't an apology. Not really. But it was the most honest thing he'd said in a long time. When the hearing ended, the judge dismissed all claims against me. David was warned about future attempts to interfere with the vehicle. The forged loan document was referred to another court for potential criminal investigation. Outside the courthouse, David caught up with me. He looked worn down. Smaller than I remembered. Maybe because, for once, he wasn't puffed up by anger or ego. I screwed up, he said quietly. I let everything else in my life fall apart, and I thought getting the Mustang back would fix it. You didn't just screw up, I said. You broke into my house. You lied about Grandpa. You tried to erase me from my own story. He winced. I know. I wanted to scream at him. Push him. Ask him why being his sister wasn't enough. Why he needed to own everything, even what was never his to begin with. But I didn't. I just looked at him. For a long time. You need help, David. Not a car. Not revenge. Help. I'm in therapy now, he said. Court-ordered, but still. Good, I said. Then I walked away. Back home, the Mustang sat under its cover, safe. But I knew I couldn't keep it forever. It belonged to the club now. To the next generation of girls who'd grow up learning about engines and grease and pride. Grandpa would have loved that. The betrayal still stung. There were nights I couldn't sleep, running through everything in my head, every dig, every lie, every twist in the knife. But somehow, underneath all that, there was something else. Relief. He couldn't touch me anymore. Couldn't take anything else away. We don't talk now. Maybe one day we will. Maybe not. But I've learned something about inheritance. It's not about stuff. It's not even about blood. It's about legacy. And sometimes the best way to protect that legacy is to let go of the thing everyone's fighting over and keep the part no one can steal. I'm not sure if I feel hope or emptiness. Maybe both. Maybe that's okay.